AITA? I didn't attend my son's wedding, I instead spent the evening with his ex-wife. Quick backstory, after graduating high school my son moved 3 states away for college. At 19 he married a girl he met. I tried convincing him to wait because I personally felt he was too immature. They both dropped out and moved back here to his hometown. At 20 they had their first child, a beautiful little girl. 16 months later, my dill gave birth to their second child, a little boy. After the first baby, my wife and I noticed our dill wasn't happy. We both thought it was PPD related. Just after the second arrived, my son and his wife separated. She would bring the kids over for a visit, it was then she began unloading on us. I know there's 2 sides to every story, but considering I know my son, I believed her. I sat my son down numerous times to speak with him regarding his marriage. He refused to take responsibility, blamed her for everything even when I directly pointed out where he was the sole problem. They got into counseling. For a year things were okay on the surface. Our dill filed for divorce. My son 3 days later was on Facebook announcing his new girlfriend. A month later, they were engaged. My son had forced his then wife to become a permanent Sam at the birth of their first child. She of course had no other family or friends here, she knew no one aside from us. She had nowhere to go with 2 small children. Unbeknownst to our son, my wife and I helped her financially and got her an apartment. Before the divorce was even finalized, we received a wedding invitation. I made it clear to my son, I would not be attending and they would not have my blessing. His mother told him she would see to it that I would attend. I stayed consistent in my decision. I also asked him not to bring his fiancée around our house out of respect for the mother of his children. The wedding happened on February 11th. The night before, my wife gave me the finial push. I did not attend. Our daughter also did not attend for the same reasons. My wife picked up our grandkids, got them dressed and attended the wedding. My daughter and I decided to spend the evening with his ex. I couldn't imagine her sitting alone, while her kids attended their father's wedding. She was taken aback that I didn't end up attending his wedding. We took her out to distract her mind. I just wanted her to know, she'll always be considered family to us. My daughter also made a joke they can drop the in-law status and just be sisters now. She was very tearfully grateful. I realized just how badly she needed our support and specifically on that night. The next morning, my son called to tell me how much of a horrible father I am for not attending his wedding. Few days later he caught wind that I spent the wedding evening with his ex. He said that was the ultimate form of betrayal, and further myself and his sister would have to earn a relationship with him on his terms only. EDA, first, I'd like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your support, encouragement, and all the awards. I know without a doubt, I did the right thing. I even feel differently now, his mother should not have attended either. But we can't go back and undo that. So, my son saw the post. I had sent my daughter the link yesterday so she could read the comments. This morning she texts me at work, "Dad, you went viral." LOL. But anyways, he sent screenshots of the post and all my comments to his mom. He also told her, he's dead to me now. Time will tell if he means that. I'm sure see this update too. For that reason, I'm positively certain the second he needs another cash loan I won't be dead anymore. His mom told him, "Your children have to be our #1 priority. They're not just some disposable items you can leave behind when one chapter of your life closes. Maybe one day, understand this. NTA, I give his new wife 2 years tops before he is cheating again. I'm sure you can make it up to him by attending at least one of his next 3 weddings. NTA. I don't think you'll regret this anytime soon. You did the right thing. You all know this new marriage is going to be a dumpster fire, too, right? NTA, your dill is lucky to have you. Update your wills. His portion of your estate should go in a trust for the first 2 kids. Help wife 1 get a career, stability. You'll hear from your son when he wants something. NTA. Rushing into 2 marriages in his early 20s? He likes getting married. Staying married, not so much. He could be a 5-time loser in the marriage stakes by his early 40s at the rate he's moving. NTA. It sounds like you're a reasonable parent who acknowledges when your kid is being an idiot. I don't see anything wrong with you choosing to support the mother of your grandchildren who he seems to have left in a bad spot. NTA, this is funny, you have to earn a relationship on his terms. I think he needs to check his offering. He's way overvaluing what he brings to the table. NTA. He wanted a trophy wife, immediately got into a relationship with another woman when he got divorced, and tried to manipulate both you and her. Unlike some comments that will undoubtedly come, the relationship you have with your ex still is yours, not dependent on him. Good for you for helping her out through this difficult time and for standing against the son. Edit, a word. NTA and OP, you win Phil of the Year award. Your son seems to be very immature. You received an invitation and already made it clear you would not attend. And the way you helped the deal is a testament to what a kind man you are. You and your daughter have the morals your son will never be able to see. NTA, I don't understand people that think you are required to side with family members regardless of their decisions. From the sounds of it, your son wasn't faithful to your deal. He is the one that did wrong, not her. Why punish someone you care about when they're the victim? The son isn't. He made his bed, now he gets to sleep in it. Wow. I feel like it's hard to fully judge without knowing the issues of a marriage, but based on the timeline you shared of your son's girlfriend announcement, it speaks volumes. Your daughter aligning in your views also says something about the arc of the relationship. I think it's very brave for you to see your daughter-in-law, I guess now she's your daughter-in-love, not law, as a person who most needs family and your support. Standing with your beliefs may have cost you a relationship with your son, and likely with future grandchildren. But it will have profoundly impacted the life of some very real humans in your life now. Sometimes family comes to us outside of blood. It sounds like you found someone you genuinely brought into yours, and don't want to see wronged, even by another family member. NTA, in my opinion. NTA, our Dill filed for divorce. My son 3 days later was on Facebook announcing his new girlfriend. A month later, they were engaged. You. The best children are the ones you choose. NTA. Somehow your son got the impression that women were worthless and disposable. Glad you didn't back him up on that. NTA, if anyone is an odd, it's your son. LOL. You have to earn a relationship back from someone who's trash? What a joke. LOL. He's an even bigger joke if he thinks this 3-day relationship is gonna last long or be fun. If anything, his now wife isn't gonna want anything to do with him having him make the choice of her or them. And he might just choose her. Info, what were the circumstances of the divorce? Did your son cheat, abuse her, etc.? I agree that it isn't great how he's abandoning her and his children, but what happened? Edit, NTA, your son sounds abusive. Good on you for helping your Dill and grandchildren. Be ready to go through the same thing with his new wife. I give it 5 minutes. It's bound to happen, especially if she puts on a little weight. That honestly made me laugh, but sadly probably going to be true. I can only hope this one works out for him and she treats my grandkids well. Yes, I can hope it'll work out. But I know the odds are horribly against a successful long-term marriage. After his engagement take 2, I messaged him and told him he should slow it down, seek some counseling and work on himself before jumping too fast into another relationship. He won't listen to a single thing I have to say. I'm 47 and I've been with one woman my entire life, his mother. We're not perfect, but I must be doing something right. I can't imagine jumping from relationship to relationship, especially while kids are involved. My wife and I have had some boo-boos, but we always work things out. And neither of us ever thought about cheating or even separating. I wish I had more than an upvote to give. Updating your will to protect your estate. If your son is such a to the mother of his children, he will be an even bigger when your estate is settled. It brings out the ugliest behaviors in some people. Update your will and give him $1. That way he cannot claim that he was forgotten / claim anything else. That he was remembered, but was given nothing. Too many parents don't want to hold their children accountable. I'm glad Thea father does. My father was abusive and his parents always sided with him and told me to just deal with it. Whenever he did something they just swept it under the rug. They didn't want to believe their son could be such, and despite seeing him blow up themselves, so they would rather live in denial. Especially because she's going to be around, forever. She's the mother of their grandchildren, and it sounds like OP has really taken her in as another one of his kids despite not being related by blood, and I love that. Far too many parents will just cut all contact with the daughter / son-in-law when a divorce happens, and it's devastating. It happened to my mom when she got divorced from my dad. Almost everyone on my dad's side just dropped her, and she'd been married and in that family for over 20 years. NTAOP, and you're a good egg. Right. The whole post is basically OP describing why his son is someone he doesn't respect. The son thinks he's putting OP on notice. He's been on notice, he just didn't notice it. NTA. Honestly, though, why would anyone care to earn a relationship with someone who clearly puts no value on the relationships he already had? He didn't care when OP said from the get-go he wouldn't attend, because he just assumed he would get his way in the end. The only relationship this guy values is the relationship with that guy in the mirror. OP, NTA. It was like all the boundary talks we had just click and he decided to use it on me for the first time. NTA immediately got into a relationship with another woman when he got divorced. I think he was cheating with her. You don't get married 3 weeks after meeting someone. Well, not normally. He might, he's an IDK about trophy wife. He insisted that his first wife be stay at home. Sounds like he moved on quickly because he needed someone else to cook and clean, and for him to control. The fact that he has one child who is a decent human being and one who is not, it seems dad here tried his best to bring them up right, but one child chose not to listen. NTA. OP, you're a good guy. I agree. If one of my siblings was unfaithful I'd cut them off forever but maintain contact with their ex and the kids. Also, the fact Op's other kid straight up said they viewed the ex as their sibling and not the bio sibling or his second wife also says a lot about everything. You are NTA, OP. Your son can F off into the sun, love the daughter and the kids. He tried controlling his ex-wife. When they married she was blonde. Shortly after she had brown hair. After having the 2 kids, she wanted to go blonde again. He told her no, that he wants her to have brunette hair. Then he comes home with a tattoo. He never even uttered a word to her beforehand. He didn't want her working, or really ever leaving the house. She gained weight, understandably after having a baby. He was mad at her for not trying harder to lose it. Said he didn't marry a woman. I know it's really easy for people to blame the parents. I don't know what's wrong with him. This is why I told him do not marry at 19. It wasn't anything to do with his wife. It was him, he was too immature for a wife and even kids. If I could have written a warning label on him for all prospective women to stay away, I would have. Him and his sister are night and day. They were raised in the same household, same parents, given the same love and attention. But he's so self-centered he cares about no one but himself. Seriously, a girlfriend 3 days later, which turns into a fiancé after a month. As OP said, there's 2 sides to every story, and more info can sometimes change the vote. This is not one of the times. NTA. Along same lines, my uncle brought a date to his wife's funeral. I wonder how long they were actually together before they became FB official. NTA. My ex posted about his new GF on Facebook before I had a chance to file. But we separated because of his cheating. It's nice that he was fired soon after and now the AP, adultery partner/affair partner, is financially supporting him. The best children are the ones you choose. What a beautiful way to put it. Like I tell my children, there's your blood family and then there's your soul family, the one that consists of people that love and nurture you. Focus on your soul family, which often contains some blood relatives. I admire you for knowing who your son is and not condoning it and being there for your ex still. 3-day relationship is probably an affair relationship. It was mostly about control. She was blonde when they married. When they moved here she was brunette. After the kids, she wanted to go blonde again but he told her no. She gained weight after having the babies. He was mad at her for not trying harder to lose it. As he said, he didn't marry a woman. He wouldn't let her leave the house. She basically had to give him a daily schedule of what she was doing and where she was going. He wouldn't allow her to make friends. She wanted to get a little part-time job after the boy was born. He told her she wasn't allowed to do that. It was basically a marriage where he created rules for her to follow, but he could do whatever he wanted. He wouldn't help with the kids, meals, or housework. He made her do it all, even through both pregnancies. I'm embarrassed he's my son. I'm just thankful she doesn't judge me for the way he is. I thought going off to college would make him mature. I didn't expect him to marry so quickly. I wasn't going to support a rushed marriage. He barely knew this woman. He threw out his family and got with her. Just because I'm his father doesn't mean I should support his incredibly wrong decisions. No, I see nothing wrong with it. He was controlling her. When she didn't follow orders things got worse. She came to us with this problem. I in return spoke to my son about what he was doing. Well, first and absolute foremost, I care for his kids. Them two have my most concern. Their mother as the primary caregiver comes right after them. Then my son and his new wife. Those kids didn't choose to be born into this. I kind of doubt your son will stay in his kids' lives for much longer. Which I think will be a blessing. Sorry. I know a man who wrote right into his will that he purposely was not leaving anything to one of his children, and that this was not an oversight or a case where he had forgotten about him. That son was in and out of prison due to drug addiction, stole from his family repeatedly, etc. The father put in the will that this child had already spent his inheritance several times over, and therefore would be receiving nothing further after his parents were gone. Man, that's tough. It really sucks when people are enabled to be assholes considering there are already way too many already. My grandmother is the same way with my father. Nothing was ever his fault, everything was my mother's fault or my fault. I didn't attend my father's funeral, I'm in my 30s. My grandmother called my mother to force me to go. She's an adult, she's grieving, and there was no evidence her father loved her. Why would she go? Of course he loved her. Just because you really want that to be true doesn't make it true, Grandma. I was getting strong Greek dude who loved himself too much vibes from this as well. People who like to stomp all over other people's boundaries always try to place boundaries in place with other people. They hate facing the consequences of their actions and will play the victim, but they will call everyone else disrespectful for perceived slights against them. The part I love about this is where the sister says, "Drop the in-law, we're just sisters now." The son doesn't know how awesome of a family he has. I agree, surely he had to be cheating? His wife filed for divorce and a month later he was engaged to somebody else. On the other hand, his relationship with Dill number 1 also moved lightning fast. Married at 19, to a girl he hadn't met before college, 2 babies born only 16 months apart, and separated immediately after baby number 2. He's only 22 to 23, with 2 kids and on his second marriage. That's a reality TV level of bad decision making. He had a girlfriend 3 days after his wife left him. He was cheating on her, that's why she left. Some men don't know what they really want. They think they want a Sam, maybe like their own mom, or what they wanted from their mom. Then they feel she's not as exciting as she once was because she's all about kids and feeding schedules and driving to school and not really sexy, and maybe she's not as thin as she was before 2 pregnancies. So then he meets a woman who's as exciting as his wife was when they first met. It's easy to blame the woman for the changes when really it's just life. Some men don't figure this out until their 3rd or 4th marriage/family. Then they notice the cycle. Or mom enabled the son. Well, this makes you even more NTA. You sound like an amazing person standing by your ex Dill. He sounds horrible. Absolutely NTA. You are standing by a woman who was wronged, who also is the mother of your grandchildren. I respect that it must be difficult for your wife to cut him out completely, and I don't think it's wrong of her to attend the wedding, but it's honorable of you to recognize that your son is the problem here. Particularly if he was, as it sounds, borderline emotionally abusive. This is one of those times where more info is just going to further incriminate the son. The only additional info we'd get is that the new wife was an affair partner for years, which is why the ex filed. Not to mention the very clear abusive patterns of Op's son, forcing her to give up her career, leave behind all family and friends, and have no contact with anyone. I had no idea that was a service the Associated Press offered. This is adultery. You can't get a new BF/GF before the divorce is final or the courts consider it adultery. Screenshot that and hand it to the lawyer. Alimony, thanks. Next. That's abuse. Cutting her off from friends and family, always needing to know what she was doing and where. I'm glad she got out, and I'm happy that you are helping her get back on her feet.